Hey everyone, my name's Heather Monroe and I'm an integrative psychotherapist. So to continue our discussion on boundaries, let's talk today about emotional boundaries, which I really love this topic. So emotional boundaries are the way that we protect ourselves from other people's emotions so that when people express their emotions to us, we don't take them on as our responsibility to take care of necessarily. So we're able to be connected to people, but we're also protected. Our emotional state isn't going to be reactionary upon someone else's emotional state. And then it's also how we protect others and the outside world from how we express our emotions. So that means that we are contained in the way that we express our emotions, that we have a sense of, that we have an ability to express our emotions in a way that doesn't offend others, or do harm to others. And we'll give more examples of that. So if there's dysfunction, let's say you tend to lean towards being boundaryless. So when we're boundaryless around our around emotions, we might have a tough time not taking responsibility for others' emotions. Meaning, if someone is angry, there is a sense that we need to fix that anger. There's also hypervigilance. So we tend to be very concerned as to whether we're responsible for that anger, if that anger is our fault or not. Even if it doesn't have anything to do with us, if there is a negative emotion, we tend to ask ourselves if we're responsible for it. So there is a tendency to take on other people's emotions and also be responsible for fixing other people's emotions, which is quite the burden to bear. And if we are boundary full on the opposite end of the spectrum, we are going to have we're walled off. So we are protected from other people's emotions, but we're not connected. So these are two extremes, okay? So we are protected from other people's emotions, but we're not connected to them. So there is a sense of we're not able to empathize with people that much. We might not be able to take others' feelings into consideration. If someone is angry at us, we're walled off, so we don't take on that anger at all, but we also may not be able to be sensitive to that person as to why they're angry. There's a wall that goes up with people who are boundary full that don't allow them to have intimacy. And because, as we know, intimacy is emotional. And so people who are boundary full they're like emotionally barely living. And it's quite sad because we're missing out on an essential, vital human experience that creates happiness and fulfillment in our lives. Now, on the containment side, there's either overly contained or uncontained. So let's talk about overly contained. You may be overly contained, meaning that you don't let other people, you don't show your emotions. You have a hard time expressing your emotions to other people. There's an over-containment around your feelings. That might be because you don't want to be a burden. You might feel like your feelings aren't as valuable as other people's feelings, or that you aren't as valuable as other people, and so you don't deserve support. You just don't want to burden people with who you are and what you feel. There's also a fear sometimes of being like too much. So again, we overly contain ourselves because we don't want people to think that we're too much, right? So we miss out on connection in that way when we're overly contained. Another way we can be overly contained is through rigidity. So when I say rigidity, I'm talking about somebody who, because rigidity in the sense that we don't even have a sense of what we're feeling. We're just really disconnected emotionally from our feelings. So we kind of know what joy is supposed to feel like, and we know what sadness is supposed to feel like, but we have a hard time experiencing those things ourselves, that there's a numbness there. And again, that goes back to that feeling of like barely emotionally living, that we just aren't able to feel much of anything. Now, being uncontained looks like, if you can think, you guys can think about someone in your life who you would describe as explosive. Whenever you describe someone as explosive, that means that they are uncontained with the way that they express their emotions, that it comes out in just a bam, in your face, spills all over you, and it's messy. So that's a sense of uncontainment, that it's big, it takes up a lot of space in the room, that kind of thing. The other way that someone can be uncontained is, an example would be if someone's nervous. Some people, when they get nervous, they talk incessantly, and that's because they're trying to regulate the way they feel inside with their voice. So they are being uncontained with their voice in order to regulate their feelings. So those are just some examples of a dysfunctional boundary system, or not examples, but that is what a dysfunctional boundary system looks like. I'm really interested to know what resonates with you guys. Do you lean towards the boundaryless, right here? Do you lead towards boundary full? Do you lead towards overly contained or uncontained? Please let me know in the comment section below, and I look forward to reading them. See you.